1.3, adding rational numbers. When we add rational numbers, we can use the same three methods that we used when adding integers. All right, remember those methods are what? Using the number line, using good guys versus bad guys, and using absolute value. Okay, let's take this example, 3/8 plus a negative 1/8. On this one, we're going to use both the number line and good guys versus bad guys. So let's first use the number line. So remember, we start out at 0. We move, let's see, it says positive 3/8. So we're going to move a positive 3/8 distance. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to add a negative 8. That means we have to move 1/8 in the negative direction. And we start where we last left off. So we're going to go here, go there, and where we end up is our answer. So it looks like we end up on the number line at 2/8. However, this is only partially correct because we can simplify this one. And if we simplify this one, this becomes a 1/4. All right. The other method we can use is the good guys versus bad guys. And in this method, my good guys are all going to represent, and bad guys, their value is going to be 1/8, whether it be positive or a negative. Okay. So here we have a positive 3/8. That means we have 3 good guys, right? Good guy, good guy, good guy. Remembering each G represents 1/8. Now, how many bad guys do we have? We have one bad guy because we have a negative 1/8. Remember, they meet up, they want to fight. So we're left with how many good guys? We have left over of 2 good guys. That means we have 2/8 left over, right? And remember again, 2/8 can be simplified down to 1/4. So 3/8 plus a negative 1/8 is 1/4. All right. In your notes, you need to write down again the 3 ways of adding rational numbers. And that's it. There are 2 more fill in the blanks, but we will fill those in after this next section. Okay, this next section, we're going to start talking about adding rational numbers with the same sign and adding rational numbers with different signs. Again, this is exactly the same methods that we used in adding integers. Okay, so remember, when they have the same signs, we add, right? We have a negative 0.75 and a negative 1.5. That means we're going to end up adding, aren't we? But the first step is to find the absolute value of each. What's the absolute value of negative 0.75? It's 0.75. And what is the absolute value of negative 1.5? It's 1.5. Now we're going to add these absolute values. So 1.5 plus a 0.75. I add a 0 there just to make it look a little nicer. 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 plus 7 is 12. Put the 2, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So our answer is 2.25. But what sign do we use? Well, we use the sign that is common to both of them, which is a negative sign. So our answer is negative 2.25, right? In other words, we're adding 0.75 bad guys to 1.5 bad guys. That means our answer has to still be bad guys, right? Okay. Now, adding rational numbers with different signs. If we take a look at this problem here, we have a positive 1.7 and we're adding a negative 2.3. Remember, when they are different signs, we subtract. Okay, first step, find the absolute value of each. Absolute value of 1.7 is 1.7. Absolute value of negative 2.3 is 2.3. Remember, absolute values are always positive. Now we need to circle the rational number with the larger absolute value. That's this one. We want to make note of its sign. It's a negative sign. The next step is we want to subtract our absolute values. 2.3 minus 1.7 is the same as 0.6. Right? But what sign do we use? Remember, it's the one that we circled up above. It's a negative, so it's a negative 0.6. All right, time for you to do two little fill in the blanks about adding rational numbers with the same sign and different signs. And finally, just 3 practice problems. And in these practice problems, again, you can use any method you want. Okay, some hints on practice problem number 1. I'm just going to show you, and you can use this method for the remaining 2 problems if you wish. So for this one, practice problem number 1, let's use the number line. If we use the number line on this one, remember we start at 0 and we're going to move in the positive direction this amount. And where we leave off, we're going to move in the negative direction this amount. And where we end up is going to be our answer, right? This is one good way to show your work, right? Another good way to show your work is to use the good guy, bad guy method, right? Where each good guy and each bad guy is represented by 1/7. So how many good guys do we have? We have 3. How many bad guys do we have? We have 4. Now remember, when they meet up, they're going to fight, and whatever is remaining or left over or not fighting, that's our answer. Okay, for practice problem number 2, I'm going to show, let's see, the steps on using absolute value. But remember this one, we have a negative 2.3 plus a negative 3.6. That means both of these are negative. That means their signs are the same. That means when their signs are the same, what do? We add. Remember the first step, find the absolute value of each. Right? Then we're going to add them like we know we do with same signed rational numbers. But what sign are we going to use at the end? That's the common sign. What sign is common? What sign do these two share? So then our answer is something, which I know you can figure out. Okay, practice problem number 3. This is using absolute value, but with different signed numbers, right? We have a positive 6.7 and we have a negative 9.3. So remember, different signs, we're going to subtract. First step, absolute value of each. We're going to circle. What are we going to circle? We're going to circle the larger absolute value and make note of the sign. What sign is it? It's a negative. Okay. Now we're going to subtract our absolute values. And the answer is going to have the sign that we circled, which is right here. And then our answer then would be negative something. And that is it for 1.3.